Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit teachercast.net/storyboardthat for a limited time offer.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Principal Cast podcast, hosted by myself, Dr. Spike Cook, Jessica Johnson, and Teresa Stagger. Tonight we have two special guests, Joe Sanfilippo from Wisconsin and Dr. Dave Gentile from Millville, New Jersey. They're going to be talking about what superintendents are looking for the 21st century principals. So this is really designed for aspiring administrators of any kind. You can connect with us in many different ways. Please visit our website at principalcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at principalcast. And we are on YouTube, and you can find both our audio and video feeds on iTunes. This episode of the Principal Cast podcast is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. It's the world's best storyboard creator. You can enjoy 25% off of any purchase today at StoryboardThat.com/teachercast. Please make sure to support our sponsors. So welcome, everybody. I wanted to introduce our first guest tonight, Dr. Dave Gentile. He is the superintendent of the Millville Public Schools in Millville, New Jersey. I've had the pleasure of working with David for the last 3 years. I'm approaching earning tenure, and I'm hoping, in the next 6 days that I can make sure that that's happened. Dr. Gentile, welcome to the show.
Good evening to everybody, and we'll see how tonight goes, and we'll see if we can maybe get that done for Spike. He's a great principal. Lucky to have him in Millville, and so happy to be here, excited to be here, and so thanks for having me on.
Excellent. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Joe Sanfilippo. He is the superintendent of the Fall Creek School District. That's the hat that we're all wearing if you guys are watching live. If not, I'm quite sure that at any time, even if you're listening to on iTunes, there's a way that you can get Fall Creek here. Dr. Sanfilippo,
yes,
welcome
I know. I know a guy. I know a guy can get you the stuff. I do. It's good. Welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed, being part of the chat room for the last however long, and it's an honor to be with you guys tonight.
And you know what? I think we should say too that Joe has his own podcast, the Brand Dead podcast, along with Tony Sinanis.
We do. That is something that we do. But let's make sure that we don't talk great things about Tony right now. I don't need to do that. So the less that we can do with him being, an influential piece of whatever, we don't need that. We don't need that. So.
Poor Tony.
One of the things that we do each week is we, kind of go over how our week went, and we, in lieu of the awesomeness that is with us tonight, we are going to skip that, folks, for those who have been listening and know what our routine is. And we're actually going to go right into tonight's topic, which is, basically what's an aspiring administrator to do? So the first question for Dr. Gentile is, in the 21st century, there's a lot of different things that administrators are supposed to do. What are you looking for in an aspiring administrator candidate?
I think it's a great question and a great topic. I guess what I'll start with is the aspiring administrator who's looking for that first job. So, like in Millville, we have teachers who have graduated with their master's degree. They're looking to break in some capacity into being an administrator to get that first position out of the way. So, what I look for when we go, for the screening and for the interviews, I'm looking to know what have they done. What types of things have they volunteered for? How have they made the lives of kids better? What have they done in their school? You hear a lot of times they'll say, well, I just haven't had that experience yet because I'm only a teacher. And my response is that's not a good answer, because you can volunteer, and I don't know an administrator alive that would say, no, you can't try that project, or you can't try to lead that if you go talk to your own building administrator and ask, to get involved. So whenever we're looking at potential candidates for that first job, I want to know what they've done as a teacher leader. And I think nowadays, you talk about 21st century. I can't believe we still say 21st century, since we're sort of so far into it. But I think there's just so many opportunities for aspiring leaders to really get involved and demonstrate their leadership ability. So that's what I'm looking for from that first break-in position.
Joe, I guess what we would do is ask you the same question. What are you looking for in your aspiring administrator candidates?
I think the first thing that I look for is a passion for kids and willingness to be flexible in terms of what we do in our building. So if you're passionate about kids, we can teach you the logistics of how things are supposed to operate within the context of a school. But if working with kids tends to be like a chore, now we've got an issue. So I think that the first thing I look for is what kind of passion that you have in terms of how you carry yourself, the confidence that you carry yourself into the room with, and that kind of thing. So the other thing is what sets you apart. So if there's we will get a number of different applications for a position, and if we do, then what's going to set you apart from everybody else? And I think Dave makes a really good point in terms of what are the things outside of what you were required to do. It's almost like a teaching position too. At the same time, you're like thinking, well, what have you done that not everybody else has? Everybody had to student teach. So everybody had to go through a practicum. Everybody had to do a certain number of hours. Everybody had to do this, that, and the other thing. But at the same time, what did you do that was different? How did you separate yourself? And when we look at teacher applications, we're always looking at the first couple of like that hook. What's the hook that you have that somebody else doesn't? And from a principal perspective, we'd be looking for the same thing. Nice.
Sorry, I had to play the crickets.
It was 8 minutes in. I'm surprised you're still here. Aren't you frozen yet? Should you be frozen
I did drop before we started, actually, before you all got in.
That's
okay,
weird. It must be a day that ends in Y.
I know. So a question from somebody on Twitter is, are you looking for quantity of experience or quality of experience? Either one of you go.
I'll jump in first, because otherwise, Joe, I won't get a word in.
I know.
Well played.
I'm fighting tonight for my airtime.
If our listeners can't tell, there's a history here.
Yeah. All right. So again, I think it's the quality, especially. I think what Joe said is spot on in the sense that we don't expect you to have mountains of experience, and the love for kids is perfect. That was a great line, and just really a good thing to demonstrate in an interview. But I'm looking for that you've done at least something of quality to make your school better above and beyond your normal teaching duties. And I'll be frank. I really, when we're interviewing, I really hope that our internal candidates step up, because I feel like we need to build capacity in Millville, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to do. Our vision is to be world class. We think we give our people lots of chances to be leaders within their own as a teacher leader, and I certainly think our internal candidates really should have an advantage, because if they're paying attention, they know what's important to us, and they should be able to demonstrate those things in their work. So that's sort of where I'm coming from with that one.
I would agree with them in terms of quality. I think that's the most important piece of it is, what quality experiences have you had, and even if you haven't had a lot of them, what did you do with the opportunity that you were given to make something better? And if you can prove or you can show that in terms of how you would make something, or how you have made something better, it's really easy for me to say, well, that's going to transfer. And if that transfers in terms of the personality that you have and your ability to take everybody from whatever their A was to whatever their B is, now you've got yourself in a really good, good position to move forward. And we want people that are passionate about kids, but are also passionate about the relationships that they build. And if they can build good relationships with people, regardless of how tall or small they are in terms of age or being in the building or out of the building, those are all quality pieces. the other thing that we look at from our perspective is like, what are you going to do for our community? Because in our area, we are the hub of the community. There are 800 kids in this school, and the families obviously live in this area, but there's not a lot going on outside of the school. And so, on Friday nights, I know where everybody's going to be. Everybody will be at a game or a concert or whatever. How are you going to contribute to that piece of our education system? So we are all about what the community brings inside and outside of our building, and we want you to be able to add to that component.
One of the things that I struggle with coming out of graduate school and then even going through and getting my doctorate was I'd go through interviews and I may have known everything that was being asked, and I was able to articulate the mission, vision, values of the school district, but I didn't get picked. And one of the things that they would say was, "You're just not a right fit." How do you guys answer that question when you're looking for that quote-unquote right fit? And we'll start with you, Dave.
All right, so let me understand the question. It's essentially, to talk a little bit about the fit, right? So when you go for a job interview, you may have all the technical skills and abilities. You may really want the job. I can tell you personally, in my career, I've gone after certain positions and thought, man, this is it. This is the job I connect with, and this is going to happen. And in the end, you don't get it, right? Sometimes there's there's an intangible thing that I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just not the right fit. You're looking at the culture of the school. You're looking at the culture of the community. And the interview committee may just not pick up on a certain vibe or something. So I guess when it comes to fit, I really reserve that sort of comment to somebody that you're not the right fit. I would rather give them other tangible things to build upon than to go to that, because it is so vague. But I think it is something that happens. Sometimes you're just not the right fit for the community or the job or the position.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a hard conversation to have, right? But I'd rather have that conversation with somebody up front than, a year later going, oh my goodness, you moved your family, you did this, you left your job, and now you're not, fitting into this culture that we're trying to build. But I would tell them that they aren't the right fit, but then I would go into why they were, what specific pieces that they weren't the right fit for. The question or the concern that you get in that conversation is, well, I wasn't able to show myself that, that, or the other thing because the questions didn't, whatever. But, you get a feeling at some point, and at that point you just decide, well, that's the direction that we're going to go. And I think that's with all positions, but it's the same, you want to make sure that you're putting the best people in the best places for everybody's success. And sometimes that thought process, or where you believe that those people are the best fit, they may believe differently. And hopefully that if you have the pulse of your school, if you have the pulse of your district, I think you're in a position where you can help promote that fit. And I think that it's a teacher component too. Like how do you get along with the staff during the interview process and that kind of thing. But beyond that, beyond the fit, we're also, you're also looking at, like, what do you do? One of the things that we can talk about is, like, what do you do that's going to add to the team? And, I have a relatively outgoing personality, and of course we want
relatively sorry.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. At the same time, I may need a different side. I need people on the other side of that to call me on things. So I need somebody that's going to point us in the right direction, but also challenge the belief system, so we're not all just bobbing our heads and saying, oh, that sounds like a good idea, let's move forward. So I need people that'll challenge too.
Yeah.
That's great. You just answered one of the questions that was on Twitter is, are you okay with a principal that will challenge you and the status quo of the district? All
day. Absolutely. And if they do it in a respectful way, I think you can have some really robust conversations. And we've done that too. Even from a teacher perspective, you really need to make sure that they're able to do that as well.
Yeah, one of the things in Millville, and Spike will nod his head to this, is we talk about Kouzes and Posner. We use the MICE, model the way, inspire, shared vision. You get the C, that's challenge the process, right? So we can stop right there. I want people that are going to challenge the process, the status quo. I want people that are going to push us. But I think what Joe said is spot on. There's a right way to do that. You know, you can't come across as somebody who is going to challenge everything in a negative way or challenge everything just for the sake of it, right? So there is a balance there. And, you know, when you go into an interview, the last thing you want to project is that you're going to be challenging the process right off the bat. I think that's a balance. I think you got to really watch that, because in an interview that can come off completely wrong. I've had people come in for interviews, and when you're in about 10 minutes into it, it feels like they turned around and they're interviewing you. And while there is a piece of that as the candidate, you want to make sure it's the right fit for you. That's a delicate thing. You don't want to start firing off questions and sort of coming off as if you're taking over the show. I think that's just a small interview tip that I've seen. When we ask you, do you have any questions, we really don't want you to break out your notepad of 13 bulleted points. You know, a couple good questions to show you're interested in the district, that you've done your research, but we really don't want you getting into, you know, a dissertation. First interview, anyway.
I'm going to kind of back up a little bit before the interview process. As an elementary principal, when I'm hiring for, you know, just a classroom teacher, I have hundreds of applicants. What is the screening process like for you in hiring a principal? Do you have a ton of applicants? What are you looking for? Do you like creative resumes? How do you narrow down to who you're going to interview?
For every position, we do, you know, a knowledge, skills, and abilities, a relative strength matrix. We get that ahead of time. What's the knowledge that we're looking for the position? What are the skills that we're looking for? And what are those abilities that we're looking for? So right off the bat, we want that matrix set up. So when we're screening the resumes that come in, we're looking for those things, those indicators that this could be a good fit. And then I think it changes with each position. As far as, you know, creative resumes or creative approaches to try to get our attention, I think that's all you know, great, as long as that's within your personality. You know, so if it fits for you, you should demonstrate that, because that could be an intangible thing that gets you in. But you know, if you basically aren't really good at technology and you get a friend to help you do something techie that gets our attention, and then you can't deliver that on a day-to-day, then that probably wasn't a good idea.
I think with every hire that we make here, I want to know that you've done something to set yourself apart in terms of knowledge of what we do. So if you come into the district and say, well, I heard that you have a really awesome PBIS program, and regardless of the position, I'll actually ask the follow-up question, like, what's so awesome about it? You know, what have you heard that's so great? Well, it's really great because I talked to a couple people. And, no, you didn't. So don't, you know, give me some statistics, give me some figures that you've looked at, and what you're going to do to, you know, enhance the data piece that we have moving forward. But I agree with where Dave's coming from. I agree with everything he's saying.
Did you guys get that one? Did you record that part where he said he agreed with everything?
That's right.
Thanks, Joe.
That's what I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you.
So, my question for the two of you is, how many administrators have you hired, each of you, since you've become a superintendent?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first. Let's see. There was and then I had what? 0.
So you're the expert on that.
Right, yeah. So we had movement. Yeah, that's right. We had movement in the district, but we haven't had any openings because I've been doing all the jobs at this point. So I was doing the elementary principal job and the superintendent job. So I kind of hired myself into that position. I was unhappy.
Not a bad place to be in.
You're unhappy with his job performance. Now you're gonna hire somebody else.
Yeah, so I fired.
Teresa obviously did her homework tonight.
That's not the answer I was hoping for, to be told.
Let me see if I can balance it out a little bit. So I think since I've been in Millville alone, I'm close to a dozen. We've had some opportunity since I've been there in some of our cabinet leadership positions, the upper leadership positions, principals, vice principals. So I'd be comfortable saying about a dozen just in Millville, and then before that, probably close to that, just in my time as an administrator. So I think I get better at it the longer I've been doing it. I think when I was younger and first starting off, I looked for charisma, more big personality in the interview. I really was a big proponent of that. I just thought you needed to be able to carry a room to be an effective leader. And I think as time has gone on, I look more for substance in your leadership abilities and experience, things that you've done, rather than just being able to come in and entertain us.
Yeah, there's got to be some content to it, because you can be all flash to start, but there's got to be something that you're doing that, like, what's tangible to move forward.
Yeah.
Then to build on that, out of the dozen plus administrators that you've hired, how many would you say that you've interviewed in that process?
All of them. Well,
that wasn't what I meant to ask.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I asked you. How many would you say you interviewed for those positions?
So I'm sorry. I got you.
No, that's okay.
Right.
Communication. I didn't communicate correctly. That was my fault. So
it could be the fact that it was a really long day today. My daughter's 5th birthday, soccer game on ice, and I was out in the sun all day. All right, so
sun. I don't want to hear about that.
We get nowadays, for every administrative position, we're getting tons of applications, because I just think there's more applicants than there are jobs. So that's where we are with that. But I'd say we get anywhere from 50 to 60 resumes easy. Out of that, we probably interview between 9 and 12 for each position. Somewhere in that range, and we have we do it where we do committee, we do first round committee. There's a spelled out process that I actually inherited from my predecessor, who set up a pretty good process. We've tried to tweak it and make it better, but it's a pretty good process. We try to take out that part where it's left just to personality. We really try to build on that matrix, that skills, abilities, and knowledge.
Awesome.
But it's still not an exact science, and I think that's something people need to know. Again, you might go into an interview and have knowledge, skills, and abilities that are right for a job, but in the end, there's just some intangible thing that doesn't quite click.
And I think that's that's the hardest thing about going for a job interview. I remember having an interview before I got this job. It was one of this is my first admin job, and so I'd gone through the processes in a lot of different areas, and I remember having the most amazing interview, and I was so excited when I left, because I thought, this is such a good fit for me, this is exactly what I need. And then I got an email that had said I wasn't going to go any further in the interview process, and the reason was because the personality that I had, much like Joe was saying earlier, the personality that I had was a personality that they already had in the district, and they needed someone on the other side of it. And even though it was, it was a great interview, and it was, I was what they needed, it wasn't exactly what they needed, and so it wasn't a good fit for them, and it wouldn't have been a good fit for me, because you don't want to work with someone who's exactly like you.
Yeah.
Especially if you're me. Nobody wants to work with me, because who wants to deal with that garbage, right?
At least there's good hats.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's a good hat. It's like my favorite hat. It's totally changed my life.
Nice, Jess. Yes. When I got my first principal job, I was on the other side of the state, and we just I sent in some stuff to this particular area, because my gorgeous wife had gone to school here, and we wanted to, at some point, she wanted to get back into this area. So I'm like, okay. So we just kind of took a flyer and sent stuff out here, and I had made a little 2-minute video about what I was doing and that kind of thing. And the story is kind of funny, because they had all these applicants. They had like 125 applicants for this position, and my application was actually on the out pile. and the disc ended up like almost like falling out or being on the edge of this envelope. And the guy that was doing the hiring said, well, let's just take this out and laugh at the kid a little bit. So they put it in, and the next thing you know, I've got an interview, and I just kind of it's like one of those, when you get into, it's almost like when you're playing a game and you kind of get into a hot streak, and it was the same way with my interview process, where I just felt like every question just fit, and it was really a cool process. But it's almost, sometimes I don't want to say luck of the draw, but you got to be in the right place at the right time too.
Yeah.
So Brian Alabeck in our chat room asked earlier, like, what can external candidates do to get noticed? Because Dr. Gentile, you had mentioned sometimes, like, in a big district that you're in, 11 schools and thousands of employees, you quite often are looking for internal candidates. And then on the other side, Joe's in a smaller district. So what could an external candidate do to get you noticed?
Right. I want to be just real clear too. I'm looking for the best candidate, and for me, I feel like the comment I made earlier. I feel like our internal folks that are real serious about it, they should have an advantage because, Spike will tell you we're pretty transparent with our mission, our vision, our values, and our goals. They really should know what we're all about. So that's why I think they should have an advantage just going into it. That doesn't mean an external candidate doesn't have a chance or an equal chance. I think external candidates, what external candidates bring to the table is that voice of you're not in our day-to-day mix, so you have a different look at things. So bringing in an external candidate sometimes is absolutely the best thing to do because you need to bring in outside opinions and just a different focus. So I think in terms of how do you get the attention, I think that first and foremost you have to have the knowledge, skills, and abilities for the job that you're applying for. So you have to have the basic things that everybody's looking for. You have to have a strong cover letter. I'm a big believer in your cover letter is your opportunity in 3 paragraphs or less to capture my attention. Tell me why you're worth bringing in to take a look at. I'll tell you that when you have misspelled words, when your sentences are run-ons, when you're just not using good grammar, that's not going to help. So I think that cover letter needs to be strong. I think that you have to have a strong background and resume. And then Joe's talked about making a video. I think that's an interesting way to try to get somebody's attention. If you're an external candidate, it gives us a chance to hear you talk and walk and some of that stuff ahead of time. I think that's a cool idea if that fits your personality. I hope I answered that. I don't.
Yeah, I think you did. I definitely think you did, and I wonder. I guess the follow-up would be, and I know we have a lot of questions tonight, like that are coming from the chat room and from our other co-hosts. But I guess I would ask, what role does social media play now in being a candidate?
I think that for me, one of the things is, are you connected and are you willing to kind of step out of the box and do things that other people aren't when it comes to the social media component? And I'm not trying to be like cool kids table kind of guy, but at the same time there's a real advantage to utilizing the social media piece, and that's a good fit for me. So when you get into that process, if you're utilizing social media in a way that is promoting what kids do, or that you're utilizing it from a professional learning network standpoint, because at some point, if you're working in another district, if you're working in our district, you should be using social media. If you're not, if you're in a different district where the superintendent or the board or whatever the case may be doesn't want you to use it, well, then you don't really have that opportunity. But you do have that opportunity to learn and grow through a professional learning network. And through social media. So I would look at, what's your social presence, what's your own digital footprint in terms of what you're doing out there to get better as a learner. But I also look at what kind of online presence do you have in terms of do you blog, do you have a website that's active, what kind of things do you have from a resume standpoint in that regard. Those are all things that I look at, or that I will look at, as part of what we're looking for. So if anybody's looking for a job in Fall Creek here in the future, we're kind of like giving the answers out, make it happen, and get out there in front of people and make sure that you're doing the right thing and promoting what kids do, but also learning and growing on your own, because otherwise people are going to pass you.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a lot of questions that people are tweeting out. In terms of like the questions that you ask, or at the end, Brian says, I tend to ask questions during the process. What if there are none at the end?
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy with none or the gal with none. So I think that's a good point. My point, maybe I was being a little too humorous. I was joking around. You want to have 3 solid questions, perhaps. And I think one of the questions is simply, could you tell me about where's the process go from here? But you can also then ask two questions, 3 questions at the most about maybe something that you read about online, something that you're interested in, but you want to think about and this is just psychology 101. So you don't want to make the administrator and the interview committee that's interviewing you, you don't want to make them struggle too hard. So ask them things that lead them to things they want to talk about the district. And I know that's sort of silly, but you want to make them look good. You don't want to ask them a question they can't answer. That's a no-no. If the committee members get frozen on something, we have teachers, we have secretaries, we have all sorts of people on the interview committees. So don't ask anything that's over the top crazy hard. But you definitely want to ask a couple questions.
Yeah, and I would just do, like I said before, do your homework and make sure that you're ready to walk into that room. And if if it's a smaller district or it's a smaller school and they have their they have a website presence up and they have their pictures and grade levels and stuff like that, and you can walk into the room and somebody says, hi, I'm Dr. Cook, oh, you're a second grade teacher here. That's fantastic. I saw some things you were doing with butterflies online. That's awesome. Then they know that you've taken the time to kind of get out there and look through the process. So that would kind of wow me.
Yeah, if I can, I'm just one of the questions people struggle with, and I'm cheating a little from the chat room, is that question about salary. And I had a great mentor once talk to me about that. If they ask you what are your salary expectations, right? That's a tough one for people, and my answer is and always will be, listen, I'm truly excited about this opportunity. This is a job I want, and I'm sure money is not going to be the reason we can't get together. And these jobs all pay a certain amount, and so you're going to be in the ballpark. And you also do your homework before you go in. You know what size district it is. You know maybe what the previous administrator in that position was making. So you have some idea of what the money's going to be. But I think a great way to answer that is just simply by stating and dodging it a little bit and just say, look, money's not going to be the reason we can't get together. I'm passionate about your district. I can't wait to come work with you and do great things for kids. The money we can always talk about.
Mm-hmm. I like that answer.
All right, so here's a fun one from Mr. Nessie in the chat room. What's the worst question you've ever been asked while interviewing someone? Or maybe in...
That's a good one.
What's the worst interview?
So what's the worst question I've ever been asked from a candidate while we're interviewing?
I got to ask. Not be the right word, but you know what he's trying to get at.
Right. I got asked a question about another school once.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
Can you tell me more about this fantastic makerspace you've got? Yeah, we don't have that. But thanks for coming out. We validate. So have a good day.
I'm stumped. That's a great question. I'll have to think about that. I know that I've had some strange questions asked of me while interviewing over the years. Some weird sort of things like, what's your age? How old are you? And that was some of my early days.
Can't ask that.
Yeah, well, and that's one of those things they can ask, but then again, you want the job, so you're not going to say, you can't ask me that. So I became a superintendent. I was only 33, so I think that was some of their early concerns. They were, how old are you? Are you sure you're old enough to drive here? Those kinds of things. So
yeah, I had that too when interviewing. Well, here's a weird one. Sorry, I just interrupted you, Spike. I never knew how to answer this one myself. Of what are your long-term goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because we all have aspirations, hopefully, but we don't you don't want to say, I just want this place to be a stepping stone. So how, that's a tough question that I never know what is the right answer. And you know what? I never thought I'd ever be a principal. So my answer now doesn't really even matter.
Right. And I think you hit it right on the head. It doesn't really matter. They're trying to get a sense of you, right? So I think, the wrong answer is, where are you going to be in 5 years? Anywhere but here. I'm not going to be here with you, right? I think the right answer is that you're going to be doing meaningful work that's inspiring to you personally and professionally, and that benefits kids. And whatever that may bring is what it brings, But you're looking to make a commitment to whatever this position is that you're interviewing for, and that's your primary goal and focus right now. And you can't tell what the future is going to be, but you can tell that it's going to be personally and professionally motivating and inspiring to you, and it's going to be good for kids.
Yeah, I would want to know if what you're going to be doing in terms of not only the space, but what are you going to be doing with kids, and how you're going to make whatever the place that you're in better. And I think that's important. But I would if I'm walking into an interview and I'm asked that question, the answer is, for me, as I would say, well, I see myself in 5 years with a closet full of cricket gear, with a bunch of green stuff, and and doing great things for the kids here. Because when you walk into an interview, you're not walking in thinking that you're going to get this and get something else. You got to do well at wherever you're at. If you don't do well in your first principal position, it's pretty hard to get another one. So I think it's really important that you commit to that. And if that means commit to the district for more than you really want to be out there, then you may have to do that.
So, Joe and Dave, we had a couple questions that came up, and I thought this one was really interesting. How do you avoid being typecast? For instance, maybe most of your experiences in middle school, but then you want to go for a high school position, or you want to go for elementary, or vice versa. How do you avoid the trap of being typecast?
I think Joe talked about this earlier when he was talking about how he's looking for the right type of person first, right? So the first and foremost, you won't get typecast if you're the right kind of person. You're good for kids, great for kids. I think some of the other things you can do to help put you in a better position, if you're a middle school experienced person and you're looking to go into the elementary or the high school, whichever, you take your pick, I think you reach out in your own district and you volunteer to get involved at the other levels, so that when you go into the interview and they say, ask, what are your skills that and experiences that make you a good candidate for this, you can talk a little bit about, well, currently I'm in the middle school as whatever, but recently over the last year I've been volunteering and I created this program at the high school, and here's what we did. And I think there's just opportunities for you to help make yourself diverse. And then, again, just remember that most of us we're not looking for a particular type. So if you've had only elementary experience, but I think you can do a great job in the next, whatever the position is, it's not going to stop me from hiring you.
I would agree with that. It's got to be you have to be able to connect with people, all people. It doesn't matter. And in our school district, if you get hired for a certain position, you may get moved somewhere else. I mean, we have 3 administrators. We're not talking about a huge number of people, but we may need some movement based on what we have or what we need at the time.
I think that's something that's important to know and to be thinking of. I taught at the elementary school level and at the high school level, and I purposely didn't apply for middle school positions because I hadn't taught there, and I thought they're never going to hire me as an administrator in a grade level that I never taught.
Yeah, I think you got to do your homework. I think that's a good thing too. Is when I interviewed for the Millville Superintendency pre-K 12 over 6,000 student district, my previous experiences as a superintendent were in a K-8. Prior to that, I taught elementary school and middle school and was a principal of a middle school. So I went into it knowing that I had a gap of knowledge in my high school experience. I knew it, going in. I didn't know a lot about high schools and just what that was all about. So I did my research. I made appointments to go visit with high school principals, high school superintendents in the area, interviewed them, asked them questions. What's important to you? What are the things that you live and die with that would be important for your superintendent to know and be able to support you on? And then that way, when you go into the interview, you answer honestly, well, look, I haven't done that, but here's what I've done to get myself prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the willingness to try to branch out and look at different levels is important. And if you do that, you're going to be in a really good place.
All right, well, here's another question from the chat room. When people asked you why your last job didn't work out, how do you properly say things just weren't a good match and we both agreed without coming across negatively?
God, that's a great question.
Yeah, I think, well, if that's truly the answer, then you got to be honest, right? So if it was truly, we just weren't a good fit philosophically. I don't know. I guess, Joe, I'll defer to you on this one. I think that for me, I'm always honest. So I would just say.
You're saying I'm not? What is this?
I'm not? Well, I think you might say I'm there. You might be able to.
I'm going to fly out there right now.
No.
You're an MMA guy. I'm out, man. No way. I'm going to send Jess and her kids, the wrestlers. Forget it.
Oh, man. Look, what I meant was.
I got a tough wrestler.
You're a diplomat, so you're going to give a great answer here, and I just know it. So,
well, I think you're right.
He's elementary principal right now. I mean,
yeah, he's horrible. The guy's horrible. He needs a haircut. So or a hat. You got a head. We got a hat. So one of the things I think is important though is that you understand that you have to be as honest as possible because I'm going to call or they're going to make that conversation or have that conversation with your previous superintendent. So if you say, yeah, it wasn't a really good fit, and then you call and you're like, yeah, well, they did this, this, and this, that's not going to fly. But if you come out and say, you know what, this happened or this was misinterpreted or whatever, now at least you got a shot at it because anybody that doesn't call, that's on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I think our questions are winding down, but I think we're going to have to ask to have you on again because there are some crazier people than me out there who are saying they want to ask questions about becoming a superintendent. That is something I never planned to do, but we might have to have another chat with you guys.
Turn back.
That's a good one.
No, I'm kidding. It's a great job.
It really is. It's a good job. I enjoy it a lot, and I think when we started talking about, we do this whole deal with telling your story and branding and that kind of thing. This is the perfect position to be the storyteller in chief of your school district and really get the word out and be just kind of be part of what a whole movement could look like. I love it. I love the superintendent job. I love it. And there are days that I walk out going, that was not awesome. But at the same time, more often than not, you can get in and see what's really happening with kids and with people, and you see your teams moving, and holy cow, that's just, you see them grow to places that you never thought they never thought they had any chance to get to, and that is a really cool feeling.
It is what cost you your hair, though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, actually, yeah, our friendship is what's cost me my hair, I think. I was had like long flowing locks before I met Jessica Johnson, and now I'm like this.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's a great idea for a future show, though, on aspiring superintendents.
Yeah.
I think
hair.
I think it's I don't know about the hair conversation, but as far as the superintendency, I think that I wish I would have been able to get some people together like this to talk about it before I went into it, because there are some major differences between being a building leader and any other leadership position and being a superintendent. The single biggest difference is the relationship with the board, the politics of the community, and what goes into that. And you need to know that before you jump into it, because learning the way I did, on the job is very difficult. And if you work for a good superintendent, they shield you from a lot of the stuff that goes on. And there's a lot of work that goes into being a superintendent, keeping your board informed, keeping the community happy and involved, and it's a tough gig. And I envy Joe in so many ways, man, because he's got a situation that's very doable. He's got one building that 800 kids, and he really is the chief educational leader there, the lead learner. He can affect change in a way that I envy and sort of miss from my time with a smaller district. When you move into something that's 11 schools, $100 million budget, 1,200 employees, it's an eye opener, and it's very difficult. And I think being a superintendent, there's no difference in a small district or big district. The job is the job. But I think Joe would agree there are some things that he wishes he would have known about before he started, and I think we've even talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a great job, and I'll tell you, I've never in my life felt like I've done more good things for kids than this position. But it's a challenging job.
And it takes on the role of whatever the community is. And if you are in a position where your board is solid and you're able to enact change through that trust process, then you're in a good spot. I have an amazing board. For my first year here, we didn't have a 4-year-old kindergarten program, and we were talking about getting a 4-year-old kindergarten program together. And one of my board members at a meeting, after listening to about a 5-minute spiel about what we think 4K could look like here, looked at me and said, "Joe, can you pull this off?" And I said, "Yes, I can pull this off." And he said, "Okay, let's vote." And that was it. And we went and voted, and a month and a half later, we had 4K in the building. So if you have the trust of your board, you're in a good spot. Now, having said that, board members are elected often. So if your board changes over, that could be somewhat tenuous. And I think to this point, our board has been so absolutely fantastic and trustworthy. But there's a lot of superintendents that are not in that position, and it's everybody comes to the board level with an agenda of some kind, and they were elected for a reason. They want something to happen in that district. If you have the trust of it, then you're in a good position. If not, my predecessor said, well, there are some districts that you walk into and you say, make sure that you rent, not buy.
All right, gentlemen. So we have a couple more things to go before we end this podcast. And one of the things that we'd like to do with guests is to play this word association game with them. Now, there's been many people who played it differently. For instance, Eric Scheninger used grunts and moans in some of the
Jessica, you changed the rules.
Yeah, we're looking for. I just
wanted
wanted to put that disclaimer out there. We are looking for a one-word answer in English from our word association.
My answer is going to be Jessica Johnson for everything at that. It makes it cricket. Cricket.
Must be a Wisconsin thing. That's really only one.
Oh yeah, I already screwed it up, man.
All right, so the first one's going to go to our friend from New Jersey, Dr. Dave Gentile, and the statement is, and you have to come up with one word to describe this: Common Core.
The grunt doesn't count. Did you hear the rules?
Let me reset. Let me reset.
Okay. Jeff, edit that out.
Common Core, polarizing.
Oh.
That's why he's a superintendent.
I was just gonna say.
You're gonna get a grunt and maybe like an Apple Car gizmo from me. That's all you're getting out of this guy.
No, just one word, my friend. Since these two, I think, are sharing notes, Jessica and Teresa, I'm wondering if maybe we should just move on to the next one, and then that goes to Joe.
I'm ready.
All right, Joe. Joe, Act 10.
Act 10?
Wisconsin people will know what that is. Sorry.
I'm glad you didn't ask me that. 'Cause I would, It comes after Act 9?
Yeah.
I don't know. Come on, Joe. I can't buy you any more time, buddy.
That's right. I'm going to say challenging.
Okay.
On a number of levels, both from a. I'm sorry.
It's a Wisconsin thing, see?
I know. Jessica can't play this game either.
All right. How about either of you guys? Michelle Rhee.
Ineffective.
I'll agree with him.
Cheater.
She came in, she blew in, she talked a lot of stuff and left the place. And I think one of the things, and look, I'll probably get a lot of hate mail because there's a lot of Michelle Reed fans out there. and I'll tell you this: the bottom line is, my judge of whether or not I've done a good job is if I've left the place better than it was when I found it. Coming in and just blowing things up and leaving it in legal turmoil, to me, is not doing that. So I'm sure she's a brilliant person and a lovely lady, but ineffective.
All right, you ready?
Right.
Diane Ravitch.
Thought provoking.
That's 2 words, but
It's hyphenated.
brilliant. She's brilliant.
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 All right. Arnie Duncan.
This is always a good one.
Jeez.
Necessary. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And I said this ahead of time that this was not going to be good for me. And
I think you wanted to hit the Dr. Gentile, I think you want to hit the eject button already, so we've actually kept you longer.
I'm going to say trying.
Okay.
We'll tell you. Okay, then before you go, Dr.
diplomatic
Gentile, here's one for you.
I'm hanging. Go ahead.
Tenure.
Tenured administrator.
Tenure administrator.
I was going to say,
Hold on. I got 2 answers.
And the first one doesn't count.
One, this is just for Dr. Cook. Unlikely. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're lucky to have him.
Mic drop.
Wisconsin. That'd be my response. Wisconsin.
All jokes aside, he's awesome, and I think everybody knows that. So I would say irrelevant.
Mm.
It's irrelevant. If you don't want qualifiers, but if you're good, it's irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant.
All right. Here's one from the chat. Tony Sinanis.
I got.
That's got to go to Joe.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with 2 words. I'm breaking absolute pain.
Oh, Tony.
See, when Joe really
No, don't do that. No. He is a pain.
Oh, this is how Joe gets when he really loves someone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a good guy and stuff, I'm sure, but he's a pain. Total. Tell him to get off the chat room and write the chapter that he's got to write by tomorrow. That's what you need to do. Tell him that. Don't do this sitting on a chat room today. Get off the chat room and write the book.
All right, Joe, calm down. Let's go with something positive then.
Good.
How about Ed Camp?
What's that?
Ed Camp.
Inspiring. That was easy.
Yeah. Ditto.
Twitter.
Are you saying ditto is the word, Dave? Or are you looking inspiring?
No, he's not giving you your words. We're giving you your words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's answering.
Twitter.
Connected.
Game changing.
Again, 2 words.
Dash. What is up with the dashes?
Can there be a hyphen in the middle?
I don't even
Make it
know.
one
I'm
word,
actually-
get a hyphen.
Yeah, I'm spelling the word hyphen.
Hashtag hyphen. Hashtag 2 words. Hashtag pay attention.
This has by far been
Hashtag come on, Joe.
This is.
We're losing control.
We have to have them back on.
That's right. Well, I'm glad that you got it in high def today because I've been doing makeup for 2 hours to get ready.
I tried to make the room as dark as possible. Hide the bags under my eyes.
I just got done with a DJ gig, so I got my big earphones on, ready to go. I go, chicka. I was ready to go. If the whole superintendent thing doesn't work out, I am ready. Book me for your wedding. Make it happen. I'm ready. I can do a chicken dance.
DJ Cricket.
Yeah. I got cricket gear. I'll be throwing it out the whole time, like shooting the stuff with stress balls. What's that? You want a stress ball? You're the bride. You're gonna need a stress ball. Come on over here. I'll throw a stress ball out.
Your headphones look like there's 2 stress balls on them. They're awesome.
Yeah, I know I was talking to you, man.
They're awesome.
All right, one more,
God.
at least from me. Boxer.
Brief. What was the question? Boxer? Did you?
Boxer.
Did I just say brief?
You know, that actually brief goes with boxers and with except I was thinking Joe's never brief on boxer.
No, it's not. I would say boxer is a.
One word.
I know. I'm trying. Would you just? Boxer.
Don't Google search it. Come on.
Oh, I know what it is.
Jesus.
That's a connection. Okay. I wanted to say family, but it's like it's a weird deal. It's awesome. I love it. It's awesome.
Oh my God.
That's my word. That's my word. Awesome.
Boys and girls, I don't think that we've ever had quite a show like this.
I don't think we have.
I think that was anticipated, though, wasn't it? I mean, really? I mean,
I had no idea.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot done here. There wasn't a lot of content being spilled, but we're gonna have a good time, right?
They brought the heat tonight. That's right.
Yeah. We certainly brought the heat. I don't think anyone's ever had a show with 2 superintendents that have rocked the house quite like you guys did. Let's give them a round of applause.
Nobody's putting 2 superintendents in one spot at one time,
Yeah, other than the county roundtables and stuff. But, okay. So anyway,
wait. Word association, county roundtable, snoozer, sleeper.
Yeah, that's good.
Does Joe have those out in Wisconsin?
No, no.
Do you have counties out there?
Yeah, we have
2
4.
part drive, man. Come on. You'd have to take a helicopter.
Oh, God, jeez. Hey, Jess, can you tell if we have counties? Do we have counties around here? We do?
We have counties.
Okay, I just didn't know if you got
I would hope so.
get to them or
I
whatever.
thought it was just like North Wisconsin and South Wisconsin.
That's Carolina.
Yeah,
That's Carolina.
Good. I'm Southside Fall Creek. You gotta watch out, Southside.
Gentlemen, before we let you go, and it truly has been an amazing, epic show, where can our listeners find you? And we'll start with you, Dr. Gentile.
Well, you can find me at drgentile.blogspot.com, and I'd like to repeat that is my personal blog, because I know sometimes I put things out there. I don't want it to be that I'm representing the school district, because sometimes I have my own thoughts, and it's like you write a blog, it's part for me a reflective piece. You put things out there. It's how you process information, and I only say that because sometimes I've gotten myself into a little bit of hot water, because I write things on there and have opinions, and then it shows up at a board meeting sometimes. So, but that's where you can find me. You can find me on Twitter, drgentile_MPS. And
I think that's going to be my first question when we have you on for the superintendent chat.
What did I get myself in trouble for? It happens. It happens when you have opinions sometimes. But
And then there was that day on April 13th when he came on the Principal Cast podcast.
Yeah, this was the beginning of the end, probably. It's like
That's good.
Unchained.
Joe Sanfilippo from Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can find me in Fall Creek, right across the street from my school.
Literally, if you look out the window, you can see the school. It's right up
there. You walk across the street, man. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Anyway, you can also find me. I have my blog is fcsuperintendent.blogspot.com, and I'm on Twitter at Joe Sanfilippo FC, and then the website is jsanfilippo.com.
Joe, I really would appreciate it if you would change the spelling of your last name, because it's so hard to spell.
So you having a hard time with the spelling? Is that what we're having a hard time with, Jess?
Can I just show everybody something really quick that Melinda Miller sent me? So she made a little trophy for me for Principal of the Year, and it's spelled wrong.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing that gets you not interviewed, right?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
For the superintendency, yeah, you're not.
It just auto-corrected me. Don't get a log on my phone.
Yeah, truth. Yeah, one thing before we take off, guys, it's been pleasure to be here, obviously, but I tend to try to listen often, and I think it's really cool that you're getting out there and helping all principals out, and to take it on, Teresa, to take it on as a first-year principal is really, really cool. When it comes to Spike, I don't have a lot of great things to say about you, but we'll get to it in a second. And I'm just kidding. And Jess, I think that you're a great leader in the state for everybody, so that's cool. But Spike, I have so appreciated our friendship, and I think it's been really cool to see you guys, the three of you, really work on this and move forward with it. It's been a wonderful deal. So congratulations to all of you for all the success, and Jeff, and behind the scenes and stuff. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Does the check come right to me then, or?
Yeah, well,
You weren't supposed to say that on air.
Oh, sorry about that. There's two P's in San Filippo, Jess. 2 P's, San Filippo.
Good grief.
just make sure we'll make sure we get that address correct. But definitely for all our guests, please follow Dr. Gentile. He is at Dr. Gentile _MPS, and Joe Sanfilippo. That's at Joe. Just look at one
With
of
a
us.
whole
and
bunch
then,
of words.
right, and then you can find us. He's in our PLN. Our next chat will be on April 27th. April 27th, with the topic allocating budgets with student needs. We want to thank our sponsor, StoryboardThat.com. Remember, all our loyal TeacherCast followers can enjoy 25% off any package purchased today at StoryboardThat.com/TeacherCast. Make sure that you follow our friend and producer, Jeff Bradbury. He is at TeacherCast on Twitter, teachercast.net for blogs and resources, teachercast.tv for his podcasts. As we always say, this is all courtesy of Teresa, who had this idea of just saying, hey, let's do a podcast, and it's in her first year.
Nice.
Crazy.
Chris, wait till next year. You guys have your own TV show and stuff like that. That'd be great.
That's not what this is?
This is a stepping stone. I thought you guys would get network access or something
Where are you gonna be in 5 years? Not.
Joe, if the DJ thing doesn't work out, you could always work for him.
I don't have that
We do need a key. We need a key grip.
Pick out our music.
I simply do not have that skill set at all.
I'm with the band.
Yeah, with the band. I'm always with the band.
All right, Jess, can you take us out?
Principal cast out.